good morning and nice to meet you, Walter. I'm
Okay.
Yunyi. I'm currently a PhD student, majored in agricultural economics at Zhejiang University from China. And I also served as an editorial assistant and Office of Editor-in-Chief from the International Food and Agribusiness Management Review, namely IFAM. Well, as a new member of the IFAM Young Board, I'm very honored to conduct this interview with you.
Well, glad to be able to participate, and nice to see who's working on the journal.
Yeah. Well, I see you were an IFAMA president between 2004 and 2005. What was your day job and then time?
Yeah, I think it was 2005 and 2006, but
Okay.
my day job was president of Farm Foundation, which is a small nonprofit organization that worked with the universities, government, and industry on economic and policy issues. I was there for 30 years, as president for 17 years. So that was my day job.
Yeah, that's nice. How did you learn about IFAMA?
Well, Farm Foundation provided a modest amount of support for the first meeting in Boston in 1991, and then again for the 1992 meeting in Oxford. And that one in Oxford was the first one I attended. And I have never missed a meeting since then.
Wow.
I knew many of those people who initiated IAMA, as it was called then. It was IAMA instead of IFAMA. I'd always had an interest in agribusiness since my undergraduate degree in ag economics, where I had a minor in agribusiness management. So it was natural for me to join the group as it formed and stay active in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The World Conference that year was held in Chicago, right? And
Yes.
what were some of the highlights that you still remember?
Well, there was a great mix of industry, academic, and government participants, representatives from across the globe, really, that addressed a variety of topics supporting that overall theme that year, which was reinventing the food chain, new products, consumers, and markets. So people looking at various things impacting the changing way business was being done. The opening speaker was Jack Abler, who was chief investment officer for Harris Bank in the US. And he focused on change and change management, identifying some dramatic changes that were taking place in the food industry, and how the capital markets and financial analysts were trying to address those topics and know what to fund, et cetera. Some of the other sessions that supported that overall theme included creating value through coordination, the changing consumer, demanding and predictable, redefining the distribution channels, lean but responsive, the farmer of the future, looking at buying behavior and market potential from the farm end of the spectrum. And then international suppliers, challenges and potential. The market was moving very much toward internationalization at that point. So that was a big concern. An interesting luncheon presentation that's currently very apropos, actually. It was on doing business in China balancing the risks and rewards, because it's all not one way, as you know.
Yeah.
And then another session is on financing the new food industry, which is always a challenge, and had a lot of people with banking experience involved on that topic. And then to close the session, there was a panel of agribusiness leaders that provided examples of how the global agribusiness with long traditions was reinventing themselves to continue being critical players in the changing food industry. Interesting group of participants in that session. Hans Jor, who was corporate head of Nestec in Switzerland, and had immediately preceded me as president. Hector Lawrence, our current president, was incoming president that year and was on the panel. Bill Whipple from the Harris Bank, who had lots of experience funding agribusiness. Gianluigi Zinti who was the executive director for Academic Barilla in Italy, and the incoming president-elect was on the panel. And finally, Lynn White, who was vice president for Global Ag Services. So I think that gives you a feel for the kinds of variety of people that we had involved in that conference throughout the whole session.
True.
So it was a stimulating session and lots of good ideas that people took home from it, I think.
Yeah.
So
it's very interesting and diverse. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably more than you needed to know, but
yeah.
So
it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I wish I could have been there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
what are some of the areas that you've contributed to building IFAMA?
Well, I've been around a long time, so I've got a lot of things I've done. I've long provided initial funding when I was with Farm Foundation. We provided the initial funding for the case study students to be supported to attend the conference. And for several years, we were the only funders. And then additional people started coming in to up the amount of money that was available for supporting the case study competition. So that was one of the first things I was involved with. Subsequently, I've served on the IFAMA board of directors for several terms more recently. And now I'm a counselor, which means I'm no longer on the board, but still working. So they appoint people year to year to help the board or work with the board. So I'm doing that. And that includes working quite a bit with Catherine White on her duties. And we exchange interaction fairly often. I have some background that she may not have, and she has things I need to know, so I work with her. Most recently, I've been involved in updating the bylaws and the policies and procedures to implement those bylaws for IFAMA. We had outdated bylaws we weren't really following very well, so the board decided to update them, and I had a lead role in fleshing out the policies and procedures to implement those recently. I have served as a judge in the preliminary rounds of the case study competition for several years. Not the last two, but previous to that, 3 or 4 times. And I led the search committee who identified our new executive editor. So that's something you'd be interested in, I guess.
Yeah.
Since you're involved with it as well.
Yes.
And one of the reasons we selected the new editor was because he had a good support staff. So we were pleased that he was willing and able to do it, and glad to have you involved. And then I've chaired the fellow selection committee for the past 6 or more years. And in between that, I bother the presidents and Catherine with various suggestions to help keep IFAMA moving forward. Unsolicited or solicited, I send them ideas periodically. So those are the things I've done with IFAMA.
Yeah, well, it's really long involvement with IFAMA. Yeah. So what is unique about IFAMA? I mean, what makes it different from other organizations in the agri-food sector?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest difference, of course, is the emphasis on the practical application of both ideas based on published research as well as industry experience and the integration of those. It differs from other organizations in that way by having a strong focus on facilitating the interaction between industry, academic, and government agencies, as well as bringing students into the mix, allowing them to have more opportunities to effectively engage with and explore opportunities for their future roles in agribusiness. So I think that's the really unique part that most organizations don't have. Hard, ongoing focus on bringing together those groups and supporting the the students to be involved.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my view of what is unique.
Yeah, true. Yeah. The title of this year's event is Food for the Future. So what do you believe needs to change in order for us for adequately fed people in the future?
Well, I think we need to continue focusing on the research and its applications to adopt emerging technologies that can be transformative, really, in making food and agriculture system as a whole be more productive and efficient in delivering food to provide sound delivering food from the field to the consumer. The application of analytics, I think, is particularly important, with a large amount of data being generated these days by various sources. The traditional statistical approaches couldn't handle that, and the development in analytics in recent years makes it possible to use that to improve the functioning of the whole food system. And then I think finding ways to reduce labor needed in the field and throughout the supply chain is necessary to increase productivity going forward. As we need to feed the world's population,
Yes.
we need more efficiency. And I think the analytics combined with reduction in labor will allow us to do a good job in doing that. So I think with IFAMA focused on industry, academics, and government agencies, there's a need to work collaboratively in this effort, and we'll get a successful outcome in feeding the world.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on how IFAMA can better bring together the stakeholders to fulfill its mission and thereby improving global food system? I think you've already mentioned part of it.
Yeah, Well, I think just continuing to bring the students together, work hard to get interesting leaders in the food industry involved to keep them engaged with the academics, and look for opportunities to further refine the use of technology in agriculture. Particularly, it's important in the fresh produce industry, fruits and vegetables and so on, where there's lots of labor involved, and any kind of adaptation, perhaps using artificial intelligence to help develop ideas and them to get the labor-saving kinds of technology in use widely. Some of the leading edge companies already are using some of these things, but a lot of smaller players are not so far advanced. So we need to continue to work with them to help them develop ways, maybe like in orchard work and so on, developing tools or machinery that can adjust and so on, so that the use of ladders and the back-breaking work is reduced a great deal. And there's a lot of work going on in harvesting orange trees or whatever mechanically, but not just dropping it on the ground, but picking the product from specific locations with all the input from the engineers, the analytics that are involved and so on, global, the possibility for doing these things in a more efficient way is a very important part moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. These are very important aspects and channels for IFAMA to contribute. Yeah.
Yes.
And for the upcoming annual conference, which is IFAMA's 30-year anniversary, could you make a short birthday greeting? For example, happy 30 years IFAMA or happy birthday IFAMA?
Yeah, happy birthday IFAMA.
Thanks, that's cute. Great. Thank you, Walter. Is there anything that you'd like to add as guidance to the future leadership teams of IFAMA?
Pay attention to the bylaws, use the policies and procedures to full advantage, and keep working with the young students. I think that will get us where we need to go.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Walter.
Okay. Thank you for.
Thanks for your kind participation.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and look forward to meeting you sometime in person.
Yeah, sure. I think yeah, because I looked your bio. You're also past previous president for AAEA.
I was president, in 1999.
Yeah. Are you still participate in their annual conferences?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
This year, of course, it was not real. It was virtual, unfortunately. But I, in fact, myself and a person from Texas A&M had developed a leadership development activity for that conference, but we didn't do it virtually because the benefit to the leadership, trying to help young people get prepared to take leadership roles in industry or organizations like IFAMA, et cetera. A lot of the benefit of having that interaction would be from the personal interaction which you really couldn't recreate on the virtual forum. So we're going to hold that next year, hopefully in Austin.
Yeah.
So maybe see you there.
Yeah, maybe see you there. Yeah,
Yeah.
with a background of agricultural economics. Yeah.
Right.